Hello, everyone. I'm Josh. I am from Radford. I've been asked to share my story. There we go. Well, I'm asked to share my story this week, and I'm just really excited to be able to do this, and thankful for all of y'all for listening and being here to know what God has done in our hearts. I want to do two things before I start. The first thing is, with my story, there is sexual abuse as part of it. I wanted to put that to start with because a lot of times I like to dawdle before getting to that point, and then it's just like, oh, he said that, and then everything gets kind of crazy. So I want to point that out to start with. The second thing is, this might be a little different than stories you've heard before. What I want to do here is to speak to the redemptive work of Jesus Christ in my life. So I'm going to skip through a lot of stuff to point out who Jesus is and the power that he has had on me. All right? So to start, I want to start with what I've been reading, which is Genesis. We are literally going to the beginning in Genesis. And I've been listening to some commentary on it, and something new that I have seen is just the names of Adam and woman, okay? Adam and woman. Adam means from red earth, and woman means from man. So we have two names for people and where they are from, where they're literally just coming from, and that is it. Okay, God found it enough to sit here and say, you are created, and that is good enough. There is nothing else more. It's literally, your name is where you came from, and that's it. You don't need anything else. All right, so we have Adam and Eve who are perfectly there with God, knowing that they don't need any, I said Eve there, Adam and woman, and I think that's an important thing, because in Genesis 2, if you look at a headline, a lot of times it will say Adam and Eve, but Adam names the woman and does not name her Eve until Genesis 3 after the fall. And we'll get to that in a second. So we have Adam and Eve at the beginning, who they are. And to start with, I wanted to expand on that. This might be a little bit weird, but that's okay. I want to read this over you. This is the truth of who you guys are in God. This is from Psalm 139. I'm sure you guys have read part of this before, heard part of this before, but it is so essential for knowing who you are, and it expands on this just like, you are who you were created to be, not like all of this kind of other stuff. All right, so if you want, you don't have to close your eyes, but anything that helps you to just hear the Word of God and hear the truth that He has said about you, get into that position. All right, here we go. Psalm 139, 1 through 18. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit, when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light will become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book, before one of them came to be. How precious to you are my thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. There is nothing in that whole part about what we do, about what our part is, about what our role is, about what we have to do. There is nothing in there about that. Everything is about, I made you, and that is enough. You have worth simply because I created you and I love you. And then we're born. And the second we're born, the world starts lying. The world starts saying things like, and I don't want to say that Eve is a bad name. She is the mother of all life. Absolutely, who she is. But it is really interesting that Adam, after the fall, says, no longer, this is where you're from. Now it's, you are the mother of all life. Now it's a name that means, here's something that you have done, and we're going to define you by that. And that's where we start looking at our lives and start saying, I see this, I see that, and we start taking things and making, what does it mean to be human? Okay? I'm going to go through just really short things about like the beginning of my life. I don't want to get too in depth, but I do want to point out what I kind of believed and who I was. Like I said, there was sexual abuse, and part of that ended up with me just objectionalizing all people. I just assumed all people were objects. And the power that you had was just like, kind of take what you want, do whatever feels good, and don't worry about other people, because it doesn't matter what other people think. It didn't matter what I thought. And so I kind of took that truth, and I made that part of who I was. My parents were pretty strict, both in the Navy. Emotions were not something we did. So another truth for me was like, emotion is bad. You can get angry to kind of manipulate people and to get people to do what you want, but besides that, no emotion. Do not show it. Emotion is bad. Okay, so I had that going on. I was a big guy. I got picked on quite a lot. I kind of isolated myself a lot, so I didn't know how to talk to people a whole lot. Still kind of awkward with that, but that's okay. So I had this kind of thing going on where I was just like, what you look like is also very important, okay? So I'm like, physical stuff, what you look like, how smart you were. My dad was like an engineer, and like, oh my gosh, you could look up his name and like a million documents that he wrote, and all articles and stuff like that, and he's just like, you gotta get a good job, you gotta go to college, you gotta do all this stuff. And I looked at all of these things, and I was like, here's the things that are important. I'm not any of those things. And so I thought of myself as super worthless, just super worthless. And so like, I kind of hid myself, and I was just like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm just gonna hide, and I'm gonna do things behind the scenes. And I started taking on this mentality of like, I can't get what I think is important, so I'm just gonna start manipulating to get what feels good. And there was a lot of sexual immorality in that. There was a lot of just getting things that feel good. There was a lot of like, that person looks happy. What can I do behind the scenes to manipulate that person to bring them down? Because I'm miserable, I want you to be miserable too. And that was kind of my life. I learned how to put on a happy face at like the age of 5, which is when a lot of that stuff happened, and like make everyone look like, hey, everything's fine. But underneath, I was just a wreck, and I was mean, and I was trying to manipulate people and hurt people and just kind of take in whatever it was that I wanted. And that's what my life looked like. Until I was 18 years old, well, after that too, but when I was 18 years old, I don't know if you guys have heard of Young Life, but it is a Christian ministry, and our goal in Young Life is to reach the furthest out there kid. To find that kid that's just like, I want no part of this. And to go love them, and talk to them, and speak to them, and hang out with them, and show them something that they've never seen before. And when I was 18, I got that. There were people that would be like, hey Josh, come to this Young Life thing. I was like, what's Young Life? It's like this Christian thing. I'm like, oh, religion. No, thank you. Absolutely not. My family was not religious at all. That's just part of my story. So I don't know anything about anything, or who Jesus was or any of that. But I did know that I didn't really care for religion that much, and didn't really want a part of it. So they were like, come to this religious thing. And I was like, I don't want any part of that. But they kept pestering me, and they're like, come on, come on, come on. And then during my senior year, My youngest brother, not my youngest brother, the next one after me was a freshman when I was a senior, and he was super popular. And all these like senior girls were like, "Come to Young Life Club," and he was like, "I want to go." And then my mom made me bring him, so I had to go. And it was there that like people treated me like a person, and they were just like, "Hey, you're a human, and we like you. Hang out." And I was like, what is this devilry that is going on right now? But it was really refreshing for me to just be cared for because of who I am. So I kept doing that, kept going just because I wanted to be around those people. And we got to the summer, and there was a camp for Young Life, which I was 100% like, okay, you got me to your club, I'm not going to your camp. And I wasn't going to go. But the week before that camp started, my parents separated, which I saw coming, but man, I just like, I don't want to be a part of this family right now. I just want to be away from you. So I showed up. If you guys know Vince Solivari, his father-in-law, Steve Schmidt, was my young life leader, and I showed up to the bus, and I had $150 from working, and I was like, the trip was like $500, and I was like, I have this, can I go? He's like, yeah, get on the bus, man. And so I get on the bus just to be away from my parents. And so when I'm on the bus, we're going, I'm like, I'm going to sleep this whole week because I just want to numb myself, because that's how I deal with pain. I numb myself. And we got there, and they made me do something all the time. And there was other things going on in the room that was just like, oh, I don't want to be in the room, I guess I'll go do stuff. And so we were doing stuff, and it was really cool, because at that moment, like, I actually was like, I need to listen to something better than this stupid stuff that I'm living in right now, because this is worthless. And they told me about who this Jesus was. And we got to sin. And they talked about sin as this thing of we're taking all of this stuff and we're like trying to make our life, and that it turns worthless and it leads to death. And I'm like, yes, that is true. I'm looking at my life. This is going nowhere. You're right. And Young Life does this really weird thing, which I'm not sure if I like or don't like, but they're just like, they let you sit in that spot for a little bit just to kind of feel the weight of sin. And so I went to Steve, and I was just like, so Steve, what can we do? And he goes, Josh, there is nothing you can do about this. Absolutely nothing. You are stuck in sin because there's nothing a human being can do about this. And I was so mad. I was just like, what is the point of this stupid religion if there's no answer? And I was like fuming. And the next day they told us about Jesus Christ, and I was like, okay, yes, that. Absolutely. And that's where I gave my life to Christ. And it's weird, because like for the next 10 years, like why did I come to Christ in the first place? Because I had all of this stuff that was just awful, and I was living in a way that was destructive. And I go to him because I know this guy can heal and bring you real life. But what do I do when I start following him? Immediately, I'm like, oh, I'm a Jesus follower now. I'm just going to go do this Jesus stuff. I'm good to go without dealing with anything. And so for the next like 10 years, it just kept being rough. It just kept being hard, to the point where like breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, and then something pretty severe happened, and I just remember sitting just on my bed thinking like, what is this? Why am I here again? Like this Christian stuff, it's not working. Like I still feel exactly the same. Maybe I should quit. And then the next thought in my head was like, and then do what? Quit and then do what? What else is there? There's nothing. If I quit, I know it will be awful. It will get worse. I will feel worse. There is no hope apart from Jesus. And so I turned and I was like, so I need to keep going. And that's when I really started getting into Scripture, really started to learn who the character of God was, who I was, who did he create me to be. And it's been an awesome journey. Dave, don't stop believing. Yeah. Journey through... we got it. Some people got it. That's what I think, just so you guys know. Every time he says journey, I think Don't Stop Believing, just because of the song in my head. Now all of you will think that too. So we have this journey of just learning who I am and being able to have this foundation that is unshakable. I am a high school teacher now, and it is really easy as a teacher to get caught up in this, like, man, my kids are not doing well. I must be an awful person, or I must be an awful teacher, or I must be doing this bad or that bad or whatever, and to get brought down. But I have this foundation now that's just like, I know where I am, and I know who I am. And all the stuff that happens, it will happen, you know? This kind of thing happens, and that doesn't change who I am or what I do. And so, like, I can love kids, I can be there and talk to them and show them that they have worth, and know that even if I'm doing bad in whatever it is I'm doing, that, like, what matters is, do I love other people? Am I putting other people ahead of myself? And do I love the God that created me? There's nothing else. I want to leave with just like one really cool illustration that was given to me by a friend of mine. He has a kid. He likes to do construction. And one day when he was doing construction on a garden bed, he was carrying this wood. And the kid was behind him, holding the end of the wood like this, helping Dad carry the wood. And essentially doing absolutely none of the work. Maybe even hindering it a little bit, but he was part of it. And that is our relationship with God. We want to define ourselves with how good we are at a whole lot of different things. But that is not what God is looking at. It is okay to be bad at things. It is okay to be mediocre. That is not your identity. Whatever it is that you think you need to be good at, that is not your identity. Your identity is in being a child of Christ. And God is like, all of this work, I am doing it. I can do it. I don't need you. I don't need anyone to help me do my work. But I am your Father, and I love you, and because I created you, you have worth. So come behind me. Hold on to this thing. You have the choice to help me in my work. And you might not be doing anything, but it is that relationship. And that guy's kid is like, I love my dad. This is so much fun to do this work together with my dad. I'm helping out so much. And it is a cool thing to just sit there and be like, I don't have to be good at this thing. I just have to love my dad and love this relationship that I'm in. And my worth comes just from that love. And that's just what I want to kind of go. That is my story. That it seems very simple to me. That if we are just looking at what does it mean to love your Father, what does it mean to love other people? And if we're focusing on that and making it really simple and coming to God as children of a God who loves us, that is all we need. That is what I got. Yeah.